Hey everyone, this is Steve with Entering Into Space, and I've gotten several requests from viewers. Are they viewers? Are they fans? Do I have fans yet? Maybe. I don't know. I think I do, perhaps. But a lot of people are like, hey man, you're really cool with like your dedicated astronomy camera and your Pixel site. What about us DSLR people and our Photoshop people who haven't made the jump? What about us? So, I took that to heart and I figured, why don't I drop back, go back into the archives, dig up some good DSLR data from the past, and open up Photoshop and process and see what a good contrast and comparison would be on something that I processed a couple years ago, and see what I've learned and how to stretch and process the data now. Especially after PixInsight, learning, using that program to basically process these images with a program that is specifically built for astrophotography. What have I learned? What can I do better? And so I've got a great image here. It's the Eagle Nebula, shot with the Canon T4i. It was modified, and I do have the L-Enhance filter used. It was shot with a Celestron 6-inch Newtonian on my equatorial mount. So some pretty good data, but you're gonna really see what I did 2 years ago. But if there was a mistake to be made or something to be overdone or something to not be done correctly or right, I've done it. There was thumbs there. Wait, I gotta do like this. I've definitely done it. Let's go through a real simple workflow that I have here in Photoshop. And guess what? I had to upgrade Photoshop, and when I did, I lost all of my plugins. So no gradient exterminator. Wait, no gradient exterminator. No Neil Carboni's astronomy action tool sets. None of that. We're just using Photoshop tools. So start to finish, from linear data to JPEG, ready to send out. And let's see if I do better. I hope so. All right, let's get started. All right, so here we are in the wonderful world of Photoshop. And the funny thing is I actually had to kind of go back and watch some of my older videos to remember, what my workflows were, how to do some of the things, because I've gotten so far away from Photoshop. Still use Photoshop for like final touches and stuff, and I'll show you what I do with this data. But yeah, kind of had to go back and go, how did I do that again? So this is some Eagle Nebula data. You can see that it's in a linear state because this is straight out of Deep Sky Stacker. But you can definitely see that we can tell where the image is. It's not totally black. And this is from my dog. This is from 2019 test process. This is a JPEG. So right off the bat, looking at this, way too much noise reduction. Way too much. It's my UFO. When you start seeing these blotchy, splotchy effects, and you start seeing small stars, like that was 2 stars there, that now have merged into one. When you start seeing your stars merge, it's way too much noise reduction. So let's see if we can do better. So right now, if we open up image and we come over here to mode, here you've brought your data in, and you come over here to mode. Typically out of the Deep Sky Stacker, you're going to get a 32-bit mode. So what we want to do is we want to change it to 16 bits. And what 16 bits does is it allows us to use all the tools in Photoshop. And then we want to change this method right here to exposure and gamma. There. And then click OK. So I want to find out, first thing I want to do, and this was the thing that's key, and I've actually talked to people here recently about this. They're like, I don't know when to stop stretching. Well, guess what? There is a really cool tool in Photoshop to kind of know how to gauge your data, and that is to set a sample point and monitor your values here with numbers. So let's find out where the darkest part of this image is. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to drop right down here, this little circle. We're going to click it. We're going to create a threshold adjustment layer, just like that. And you'll get something that resembles a histogram peak here. And when you start to push it over to the left, It's going to start showing you where the brightest parts of this image. You see it's growing here where the center part of the Eagle Nebula is. So you see I can continue to just blow it out. So somewhere right about here. We're going to crop this image in here too. So we don't want to put a sample point too far out towards the edge. So now we can kind of see this is, this is the main body of the Eagle Nebula here. So let's come right back in here and set a sample point. So over here, we've got these little eyedroppers. So if we right click on it, we want to choose Color Sample Tool. And we can zoom right in here and just in somewhere in between the stars here, let's just plop one right there. And so what it's telling us is these are our levels. Our red is at 40, green is at 45, and blue is at 45. So pretty even, but pretty bright, And just to give you a heads up, a good image that's not clipped is going to be in the low 30s, high 20s, low 30s, somewhere in there. So we're a little bright right now. So if you're stretching your data and you look over here and you see those background levels at like 70, you're blowing it out. Okay. So now that we've set our sample point, we can just drag this threshold layer that we made over the trash can, drop it, and get rid of it. So first thing I want to do is I want to come down here and I want to create another layer. And I want to double click on it. And I'm going to call this levels. Okay. And I'm just going to start stacking everything I do. I'm not using adjustment layers. I'm just using regular layers here. And I'm just going to stack them as I see, like step 1, step 2, step 3. So the first step is levels. And so we come over here to image adjustment. Actually, let me not do that. Let's crop this image. Let's get rid of some of this fringing here that we have going on. So we're not processing it as well. So choose our crop tool. Just going to draw a box all the way around. So let's just bring the sides in. It's going to shrink this image, and it'll actually help kind of speed up the process too. I mean, we got a lot of space out here we don't really want to deal with. Right there. So I'm going to go here to image and crop. Cool. So I believe when we click image adjustment levels, we still have our sample point. We can hit our info box right here. Yours might be set up, but different. This is a newer version of Photoshop, but you definitely want to see this info box because you want to see what these levels are doing as you stretch. So right off the bat, you can see the histogram is right here. It's already pretty wide. I've had them a lot narrower, but it's already pretty wide. So let's just bring this black point over and drop those levels down to low 30s. And you can see we're not even. Our red is lagging behind our blue and green. So right off the bat, we can choose our green. We can bring it down to match the red. Even those numbers up. Take the blue. Do the same thing. I like to be just a little bit heavy on the blue. And we're going to choose OK. Okay. Let's do it again. Image, adjustment, levels. Let's bring this mid-tone slider over towards the data, and you see it gets brighter. Right about there. Now you see our background levels have really increased. That's cool. Let's click OK. Image, adjustment, levels. Now you can see our histogram is starting to get wider. So let's just bring it back down to that low 30s. You can see we're a little bit blue, but we'll fix that here in a little bit. Click OK. So right off the bat, if we turn that on and off, you can start seeing the difference in the images here. We're stretching it. We're bringing out the data. We're separating the signal from the background. But guess what we got? We got a lot of noise in this background. That's pretty synonymous with a uncooled DSLR camera. So I don't want to stretch this too much more because what am I doing? I'm stretching noise. It's not good. I don't want to stretch noise. No. So let's come back in here and go image, adjustment, levels. Let's pop our info box out here and let's even everything up. So let's come down here to this blue. And actually, we're going to clip that blue just a little bit, bring it down about 34. Come in here to our red and we'll pull that mid-tone slider in to just a bump. See, sometimes it's almost impossible. but we're a lot more even. So I like that. So let's try to mitigate some of this noise right here and remove it before we do any more stretching. Okay, so let's bring this levels layer down here and duplicate that copy. Let's rename this BG noise. We're going to do this twice, so we're going to call that BG noise 1. Okay, so when we're doing noise reduction, we really want to focus that noise reduction on the background and not the signal yet, because we don't want to start to over smooth our details. We want to salvage them as long as we can in the processing. So what I like to do is come up here. I want to select color range, and I'm going to choose the selection as highlights. And see right off the bat, look at that. Look, it's almost selected all of the Eagle Nebula, and typically it'll come in maybe something looking like this. So you just push this range slider over until you start to see the bulk of your brightest parts of your image. We're going to protect this in a kind of a really crude kind of way here. So let's click OK to that. And then you see we've got these little marching ants around the bulk of our data here. Let's back out. Let's come back over here to select and mask. And what I want to do is I want to feather the selection here. And that's the key thing. And the thing that I didn't do in the beginning was when I did stuff, it was like hardline. It was here to here. And stuff doesn't look natural that way in space. It really blends and fades. Blending, fading, and depth. That's your fundamentals for a good astrophotography image. So let's feather the selection by clicking this feather slider and pushing it over. It's pretty aggressive. That's okay. Click OK to that. See, now it's a smoother selection. It's selected stuff out here, but it's only showing you this part. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Control and J, and it's going to take that selection and put it on top. And we can turn it off just to see the effect. Come back in here to BG noise, and we're going to just come up here to filter, noise, and guess what? Reduce noise. So if you move it around, you see the noise will come back in. As soon as you let go, it shows you how much noise reduction it's doing. And we really, I think a strength of 8. So I don't know if you can see it in YouTube land there watching it, but right now, when I'm moving it, you can see that all the noise is there. When I let go, it shows you the noise reduction being applied. So I really like it. So the rest of this is pretty well set, probably from default. Preserve detail 60%, color noise reduction about halfway, and we're going to sharpen some of the details. And let's just click OK to that. Okay, done. So if you come back in here, you look, we've got a really smooth image, you know, for DSLR data. But if I turn on this layer that I made up here that has that higher signal selected, see, we gain our details back, our Christmas. Christmas? It's almost Christmas. Because we don't want to put any noise reduction on those just yet. But if we go hold the space bar down, take our little hand and kind of pan out here like this, you're going to see that. Zoom in right like this. So we'll turn off our noise. See the noise? Smooth right out. Awesome. So now that we've done that, we can just right click on that layer and hit merge down. Okay. Cool. So let's drag this down. Let's answer a text message from our lovely girlfriend. My lovely girlfriend. Heart, heart. Okay. So let's rename this levels again. We're going to do a couple more level stretches in this thing. So let's come back up here to image, adjustment, levels. And we can bring this mid-tone slider back over, brighten the image up one more time, somewhere right in there. And I found, like, I've seen a lot of people do videos where they take this mid-tone slider and they just jam it all the way over here, you know, just wow, like that. And then they come back. And to me, I find doing it real subtly in small steps produces a better looking image. Okay, so let's come back up here to image adjustment levels. And let's pop our information tab. See, we're pretty high. So let's bring this back over here. Let's get it down to those kind of low 30s. You see where our red now is kind of getting a little funky. Our image is looking really red. So let's drop this RGB down. Let's choose red. Let's bring that black point slider over until we meet that. There, look at that. 32, 32, 33. Click OK. Got a good background. We've got good detail here in the Eagle Nebula. So I like it. Next step, curves. And what curves do, levels is kind of global. And what curves do is you can really isolate the background from the signal. So let's bring this down. Let's create another layer. Double click on it. Curves. Okay, just by double clicking. And we're going to come up here to image, adjustments, curves. So a good contrast shaped curve is a good S curve. That means you're pushing your peaks up and you're pulling down your black point. And that creates the contrast. So let's just do a real simple global curve to kind of separate our signal from our background. So we're going to come right about just over the top of the midpoint here. We're just going to push this up. It's getting brighter. We're going to come right down here, just about ready, right here in the middle of that histogram peak, and we're going to pull it down. So let's preview. See, we're brightening up the signal, keeping our background at bay. We've got a fairly passive S curve, not aggressive. Is there such thing as a passive aggressive S curve? If there is, leave a comment. Okay, so now let's look at our difference. You know, this is subtle. Let's look. Ah! Halloween. All right. Let's do another curves adjustment. Image, adjustment, curves. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to pick up my data and I want to pin my background where it's at. I don't want to raise these levels because I'm really liking them. I like them a lot. So I'm going to click this little finger tool right here. And I'm just pointing out here, and you see it's plotting a point on this line. All right, so it's saying these are where our background levels are along this linear color line here. So I can come right here. I just plot that point. So I want to anchor that point by coming right behind it, right about where the data is right here. Looking at it. Now you see how I got my line all jacked up when I click because I didn't click on it very good? You can adjust those by just adjusting the number. So we're 20 here, 21 here. Let's back that back out, make that 20. So now we got a good straight line. So basically what we're telling the curves tool here is lift everything except for anything in these values. So now if we point somewhere out here, we want to start raising up some of this fainter nebulosity. Let's just point right here. See how it's really faint, and as we come in, it gets brighter and brighter, higher and higher. See that star's way up there. And that's the other thing too to watch out for when you're doing these images is these stars. You want to start pointing at these stars here, doing this. And if you start seeing these values, you see if I point at the star right here, see it's almost peaked. So what this is telling me is this star is almost saturated right here, right? So that almost tells me that these levels in here are probably done. And I've definitely had images, I don't have one handy, that I've bloated the stars, meaning I've way overstretched the stars. And you can see, pointing at these stars here, that I'm pushing that limit. I'm like Tom Cruise, I'm on the highway to the danger zone, right? So let's put a sample point right here and let's anchor the high point right there. Okay, let's change that so it evens the line out. So we've anchored our brightness, we've anchored our dark, and now we're just going to lift what's in between. Right there, not much. Right? Preview, on. See? Look okay to that. So let's do a comparison. Wow. So Where's an example? I'm back. So let me give you my analogy of stretching really quick. Can you see this? I'm looking at my camera. This is a little pamphlet explaining how to turn on my RGB lights around my desk. So you can't read what's in this, right? Because it's linear. It's a line. So the more I stretch it, if I did just like this, you might be able to see inside of there. But what if I stretch it some more? Right about there. You may be able, my hand went in the way. You may be able to look in there and start seeing words, right? So the more I open this pamphlet up, the more you can see what's revealed inside, the more you can read the story. See? So this would be, I've opened it up enough, I've stretched it enough so that you can see everything in its detail. But if I started just ripping, oh, I actually ripped it. If I started ripping this apart and had it out to here in little pieces, yeah, you could see it, but then it looks like crap, right? So knowing when to stop, knowing when this is enough. I hope that made sense. Makes sense to me. Makes sense, yes? So knowing when to stop, knowing when your data is giving you or yielding all that it can. So let's get back. Let's do another curve stretch here. I think we can probably do one more. So image adjustment curves. Okay. And let's do that same thing. Let's do the finger tool right in here. Plot a point. Okay, let's anchor that point. Ooh, we did good. Let's come right up in here to some of the upper data here. Let's plot 2 points. Let's make sure those are even. Okay. Let's see some of this, because we're really starting to get some of this data stretched right here. So let's just lift it right here. Try to get some of that faint right there. See, it doesn't take much. Click OK. So let's see what our, wow. That's amazing, right? And see our stars get a little brighter, but we're cool with that. We're okay. We're okay. Okay, now, if you can see, if you can tell looking at this photo, I've got fairly dark band around the image, but I kind of get brighter. This is where like a tool like Gradient Exterminator would probably flatten this out. But let's do this manually. So let's drag this down, create a curve. We're going to create a layer. We're going to call this BG background fix. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to select this color that we're seeing that's not quite this, not this brighter background area of space that we're seeing here. So let's come over here to select color range, and let's probably choose it right there. Actually, sorry, we got to change that to sample color. All right, so let's click it right there. So that's basically saying it selected everything except for the nebula. So let's push that little fuzzy slider down, and you're going to see it as we do this. You're going to see there's that halo that we have. See it? All right, so there's my darker corners. Here's this kind of brightish halo that we have. So let's click OK to that. And we want to, again, we want to smooth out the selection. A great tool for that is select selected mask. Look at that. So let's really feather this, right? Smooth that selection out. Okay. So here's our selection. Okay. Let's do Control J to push it on top. Basically made a copy. All right. So we've taken that selection, made a copy of it, and put it as a layer up here. Let's come back in here. Let's choose a curve. So image adjustment curves. And once again, let's click this finger tool and let's find out where that bright area is. So see if I click over here, see how it gets darker? I come right here, see how it gets a little brighter? So we're just going to take right about here where we saw it trending. And we're just going to pull it down just a little bit. Click OK. So before, after. Not a huge difference, but it's definitely providing more contrast. We've got some darker space around our nebula. We could see more definition in the fainter signal of this nebula. So I like it. Let's merge it down. All right. So what's next? We've done, we've run back through here. We've got curves or levels. We've done noise reduction. We did levels again. We did curves. We really got a really good looking image here. So let's enhance some of the details of this image. This is one of my favorite things to do, and I still do it on some images after, like life after PixInsight. This is what I do. So I'm gonna create another layer, right? And I'm gonna call this high pass. High pass, right? And where I'm going to find the high pass, and the high pass filter is really cool because what it'll do is it'll selectively sharpen. You don't want to sharpen the whole image just yet. We want to really just kind of enhance. And it's almost like adding a local histogram transformation, PixInsight, to where it brings out the brighter spots and pushes back some of the dimmer spots to really give you more contrast without clipping any data. So with that high pass layer selected, we're going to come up here to filter, come down to other, and we're going to go to, where's it at? Oh, high pass. So immediately you get this box up here, and it may come, for you, it may come default looking like this where you can't see anything. So you just push this slider over. You're going to start seeing the details of your image here reveal themselves. So see how I've kind of blown them out? I want to find that good balance to where, about there, where I can see the details. I've not washed it out. They're definitely more contrasty. I don't know if that's a word, than they were before. So let's choose that, that setting. And now we want to change the blending mode to overlay. You could do soft light, but I like overlay. It's pretty aggressive. Okay. So if you're looking here, you're like, man, we did all this work to kind of maintain the integrity of this data. And then now look at it. It's starting to look like that other image you had, bro. Right. So this little square down here with a circle in it, that's going to create a layer mask. Let's click it. Okay. Let's point at that layer mask. And we're going to hit Control and I. And our computer beeps at us. Ooh, glass animals. You guys ever heard glass animals? Awesome. Okay, so now what we've done is we've created a mask over top of this background image that we fixed. And we want to make sure that our forefront color is set to white. See, we can hit this and adjust it black. We want to make sure that it's separated. So we've created this mask. It's black. Our foreground needs to be white. We're going to choose our paintbrush here. And I've got the opacity set at 55%. I've got the flow set at 74%. So that's pretty good. So let's zoom in here to the details, right? So I'm just going to click and I'm going to paint them in. You see that? Did you see it? See what it's doing? You just want to click on and just kind of paint that mask. And you're not doing a full 100% opacity. What you're doing is you're just selectively enhancing some of these details in here. And the Eagle Nebula doesn't have a lot when you're at this focal length, just kind of right in the heart of it. See, now you can really see that. That's the eagle, by the way. That's his claw. That's his, wait. I think that's it. Claw, head, wings. So yeah, so let's do a before and after. Let's zoom in here. You can see before and after. See that? Love it. Let's blend that mask. So let's right click on our layer mask here. We're going to go to the selected mask tool. You find I use that a lot. So let's just feather that selection where we painted it. Blend it out just a little bit. Click OK to that. Okay. All right. So let's merge that down. And what that does is it gets rid of that high pass layer that we made. We probably could have made 2 high pass layers. That way we know. I only made 1. Get over it. So we're still back here to our BG, but you can tell we fixed our background, and we enhanced the details. Look at that. So I'm really digging it. Okay. So I would have to say that this data is probably presenting itself just about as much as it's going to. Here's where I think I would have overdone it a long time ago. And I think I'm just going to say, this is good. We're not done with the process, but I'm not really going to stretch it anymore. Everything I'm going to do now is going to be minor cosmetic stuff. So let's create another layer. And we're going to call this camera raw, because this is a powerful tool. I love the camera raw filter. So we come up here to filter, camera raw filter. I'm going to show you what I do using it. I'm going to choose the basic tool here. I'm going to boost some vibrance just a little bit. I'm going to boost just a little bit of saturation. Might dehaze it just a skosh. That's going to offer a little more contrast. I'm going to boost this clarity. You probably can't see it there watching the YouTube video, but clarity is almost like sharpening, but not crunchy sharpening. Let's boost that clarity. And now let's choose our detail. And we can do just a little bit of noise reduction and a little bit of color noise reduction, and sharpen the image just a little bit. So let's click OK to that. And man, I'm telling you, it ain't much, but it has definitely added some subtle details. Okay. So I still feel like we've got a little bit of brightness in here, but I'm not going to mess with it much. You saw how I did it. You could probably come back in here and select this some more. But one thing I want to do is I really want to clean up this background. So you can see we're a whole lot smoother than we were, but we can do another noise reduction technique to really smooth out this background a little bit more. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We're going to create another layer, just drag and drop. See how we're making our steps right here? And we're going to rename this one BG noise, background noise. Oh, watch this. Crazy. Let's duplicate it. So we got a BG noise copy and we got BG noise. So we're going to come up here to the top copy one here. And we're going to come back in here to our camera raw filter, right? And we can kind of zoom in somewhere right here. And watch what we're going to do. We're going to just go crazy with this noise reduction. See that smooth right out? We're going to do big time. And you're like, Steve, you told us not to do that. I know. Let's back it back down. So we've got some really good noise reduction. But see, I still have good star separation. Okay. Let's click OK to that. So we got really good noise reduction, but to me, I think we've smoothed out some of our details too much. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on this layer. We've applied noise reduction to this. If you don't believe me, let's zoom in. Look. Zoom in some more. So you can see smooth, noisy, smooth. So let's put a layer mask on here. Now let's come back to this BG noise that we just made. Select it. We're going to hit Control A, selects all, and Control C to copy that selection. We're going to point at the layer mask. We're going to hold our Alt key down and click into the layer mask. All right, so now we're inside of it. Oh, I'm in a bloody big layer mask. All right, we're going to hit Control V, which is going to paste the image that we just copied, right? And it's black and white, don't worry. Now we're going to hit Control and I. That's going to invert that selection. All right, you might have to watch that a couple times, but thought I went slow. So we're going to come up here to Image, Adjustment, Levels. Now you can see our histograms on the other side. So we're going to take this, what was the black point slider, still is. We're going to start pushing it towards the histogram peak, that inverted histogram peak. And you see how all this is getting black. That's what we want. So what's in black is not going to receive that noise reduction that we did. And what's in white will. So let's bring that right about there. And let's push this right slider over. So you see how everything around it's starting to whiten up. So what's white, pure white, is going to receive 100% of the noise reduction that we did in this BG noise. Wait. and this one right here. What's here in gray is going to receive just a percentage of it, and what's in black will receive nothing. Okay, so I like that. I'm going to click OK to that. I'm going to right click on that layer, and I'm going to say merge down. So let's move back in here. Let's see what we did. So we got for a DSLR, that's a pretty smooth background. So if we turn that layer on and off, we've smoothed it up. But we come over here, you don't see any changes, right? Cool. All right, so let's see, you got these little marching ants. One thing you got to do is come up here and go select and deselect. So let's sharpen. Let's do some sharpening. Want to? Let's sharpen the whole image. Let's create another layer. Okay. We're going to call this Smart Sharpen. And remember, all these tools are right here in Photoshop. No plugins. Okay. And this one's pretty easy. Watch this. I'm just going to come over to Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen. Yeah. So it gives us a preview window. I've got some noise reduction applied to it. I've got a amount of like 200% radius at 2.9 pixels. Once again, when you move it around, you can kind of see nothing's happening because you're moving it. And then when you let go, you see the sharpening. See the stars kind of fuzzy and they get round. All right. So I like that. So let's click OK to that. Yeah, the neat thing about Photoshop is that let's say you did a process and you're not really digging, what you did. So let's zoom in here. You can kind of see all this. You're going to see, once you zoom in, you'll see this like skin effect when sharpening, because sharpening is really working hard on all these pixels. From a distance, from your normal presentation distance, you can't see that. You come in here, if we turn this layer on and off, see our stars are all kind of fuzzy. And now look at them, super sharp. Fuzzy, super sharp. But let's say you're like, man, that's a little too sharp. All right, the cool thing about Photoshop is you can adjust the opacity. So we'll bring that opacity all the way down. Let's push it up. So the effect that the Smart Sharpening did is at 50%. I like that. So we got a really cool looking image here. So at this stage in the game, if I'm happy with this, why have all these layers? So let's come over here to Layer. Let's flatten the image. So let's do a little star reduction on this image, and then we're probably going to call it done. Let's create another layer. Okay. And the way we want to, first thing I want to do is I want to kind of salvage and save some of these details of this image from this noise reduction process, really crude noise reduction, or no, noise reduction, star reduction. We've already reduced our noise. So let's do that whole select, color range, sample colors. Let's come right out here, choose this. We're going to adjust our fuzzy slider. We're going to grab most of our nebula. Right about there. Click OK to that. Select the mask tool again. Select the mask. I like it. Let's feather that selection. Click OK to that. Control J to push it up on top. We can turn it off. All right. So let's come to our background copy here. Let's rename it Star Reduction, RED. Okay. And watch this. We're going to come here to actually filter and noise, and we're going to choose dust and scratches. What? Where'd all our stars go? So this thing is a bit weird. You got to kind of move around in the image again, because what it's showing you here is not what it's going to end up looking like. So if you can see how my stars are pretty bright, and then when I let go, see how they get dim because I've got a radius of 2 pixels. All right. And they just dim out. That's all they're doing. Okay, let's just choose that. And we're gonna, remember how we selected that? And we selected the details of the image, and then we pushed them up on top as a copy. See, we get some stars kind of brighter back in the core. We salvage our data here. We didn't do any like smoothing of the data itself, the focus point of the data. So let's merge that back down. Let's zoom back out and see what we did. Right? We still got good signal. We didn't erode any of our data, but what did we do? We kind of turned off or diminished or de-emphasized some of those fainter stars. See that there? And it's all those fainter stars that can look so busy in an image that you can't really see the target. And we just did it with dust and scratches. We didn't select all the stars and do any kind of crazy single reduction of the stars. We didn't do anything like that. So I like that. It really, see how it enhances the image? Let's do another comparison. Like seriously though, I should stop because we've all been here. And if you're here now and you're going, yeah, I do that. What is this? This is way over processed. First of all, it's way overstretched. It has way too much noise reduction. And I can't think of what else I did. I don't know, but I can tell you way too much noise reduction. It's made everything fluffy and crunchy at the same time. And to me, this, it's not as poppy, right? Because this is just smacks you in the face. But this to me is definitely a lot more subtle. So let's duplicate that copy. And I can see what I want to do here. I think my background is just a little bright. Probably still have some of that brightness here. So let's check what our levels are at. But look at that. They're not too bright, are they? 28, 29, 29. I mean, let's jam up. Let's jam up. So let's call this curves. Right? And let's try to separate this data just a little bit more from the background. So we're going to come up here to image adjustment curves, and we're not going to do any anchoring. We're just going to do a simple little S curve again. We're going to pick up the data, brighten it up just a little bit. See that? And we're going to pull it down right about there. Wow. So before and after. Look at that. Really draws your eyes. I mean, your eyes are like, look, your eyes are like, and then you do that, just bam, right there on the eagle, okay? And the cool thing about it here is if you're like, I don't know if I really like that much, you can always push the slider down, give a percentage, but I like it at 100%. I think it's a good, clean looking image. Another thing that if you're just in here and you're like, man, I really I don't like this color. Like I'm getting kind of this pinkish color, right? And maybe the whole image, you're like, I want just a little more red on the image. You can make another layer, right? Let's call this Select Color. Oops, I gotta add an E in there. You're gonna kill me? Okay. So this is a really powerful tool. If you come over here to Image Adjustments and come down here to Selective Color, it's gonna default to red. So you can just drop some of this cyan out. And look at that. It almost makes the image brighter. You want to get crazy with it. I went pretty crazy with that 34%. The other thing you can do is you adjust this black point slider. All right, see that's really, look at that. That's starting to really separate the Eagle Nebula from the background. So let's do a preview here. All right, I can bring that red. Maybe let's push up our magenta just a little bit and our yellow. Ooh. See, here's where you can go crazy with it. Look okay. All right. So once again, subtle. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but this is the exact same data. This is the exact same autosave file that I opened up in September of 2019 and went, yeah. and then was done and probably posted this out and was proud and happy of this. I mean, it was, because you should have seen the very first Eagle Nebula I ever did. It was like, what is that? Yeah, it was pretty bad. But it's the same data processed with a lot of practice and learning from other programs like PixInsight and this one. And you know, what it takes, what I think it takes to have a really good image. I mean, and honestly, the funny thing was, is I looked at this like this before and I went, I gotta get another camera. This data sucks. You know, this camera sucks. And I did. I got a cool astronomy camera. I'm shooting mono now. It's great. But you know what? This DSLR data, when processed with care, some really good stuff. I mean, this is a super cool image, and I'll definitely gonna post it on my thumbnail. So yeah, I think we're done. We went through all the steps. Definitely go back and watch them. Didn't use any plugins, as you can see. We used everything right here within Photoshop, and I'm super proud of it. I hope you are too. And definitely let me know in the comments below, you know, how your data turns out, following these steps, following these paths. If you're just getting started, hit me up anytime. I love answering questions. I love helping people with this hobby, because we're all in this together, people. We really are. And also check out my affiliate link below for OPT. It really helps me out, you know, being able to do these videos and get new gear, and nobody pays me to review any of the gear that I've reviewed, so every little bit helps. And until next time, clear skies and always clear minds.